How's it going, everyone? Nick here with ChevelleFactory. I'm here with John. He's got his 72 Chevelle behind us. He's gonna walk around and we're gonna discuss his Chevelle and why he has it and just tell us some in-depth information about the car and his history with Chevelles as well.
Good morning. It's still morning, right?
Yeah.
It is. Okay, well, I'm from Fullerton, California, and we're here today at the quarantine cruise, of course. We've been coming here for the last 3.5 years. And I've always been a Chevelle lover. When I first saw them, I was in the military overseas, and of course we used to get Motor Trend magazine, Hot Rod magazine on occasion. And when I first saw the 1970 Chevelle on the front page of the magazine, this was in 1969, so the new model was coming out.
Correct.
I just fell in love with that 70 Chevelle. Everything about it was beautiful. And my friend and I, we were stationed over there together. He was from Whittier. We saw that car and we said, we're getting one of those when we get home. We're getting one. So long story short, got back to California. My friend went out and bought the red SS 396 with the white stripes.
Yep.
I, at that time, got the family version. I was engaged at that time before I went overseas. So I got the 70 Malibu, went to a lot of dealerships, found a Fathom Blue, that color. I just fell in love with the color on that Chevelle. To me, it's one of the better colors for this model. But, and then had that car for 11 years. And unfortunately, one night, the car was sitting out in the driveway. It always garaged. The next morning, it was gone.
So this is the early 80s.
This is back in 1981.
Yeah.
April the 5th, to be exact, 1981, it was stolen. And I was totally devastated because at that time we had 2 kids.
Yep.
And that was our daily driver. And I always took care of that car. I was always polishing the car. The guy, neighbor, come down and he said, "You're going to wear the paint off of that thing, man." I said, "Well, I got to keep it clean, right?" So.
And back then, we didn't know that these were going to come timepieces like plastics.
But it was funny because at a certain point, I kind of had a feeling that I said, one day, I think this car might be a classic car. Yeah. And I was trying to think, how many years does it take for a car to become a classic? You know, to really be loved and brought back or take care of. And sure enough, the 70, unbeknownst, became the highlight of all the Chevelles.
Yep.
The most pricey of all the Chevelles, of course, the 70 with the big block 454s and the rock crusher transmission and that whole thing.
Yep.
But anyway, it just took me a long time because after that, I mean, I just couldn't afford another Chevelle. And I kind of, after that one was stolen, I got a 72 Monte Carlo, which was nice, but it never did replace this.
Yep.
You know, and for years I looked at these things and I said, one day I'm going to get me one. So one day I did, and I never even told the wife I was getting it. That was the thing behind it here.
Now, were you just kind of like stalking ads on the side, just saying, hey, if I find what I'm looking for, I'm going to go for it? And then this just popped up? Or were you like specifically like, it was like time that you were ready to replace it?
Well, it was kind of like that. I would look at ads all the time for Chevelles. Back in the day we had Penny Saver, so I'm looking at ads all the time. You can see hot rod cars listed, whatever. But it just took me, for whatever reason, 39 years to get another one. But I did find this online. It came from Mankato, Minnesota. And the car was pretty much as is the way it looks now on the outside, but everything has been redone underneath. So,
so what is it that we're looking at here? What is this car? It's a true SS?
This is actually a clone.
Okay.
This is at one time used to be a Malibu.
Okay.
This became a clone, which has all the features of the SS.
Right.
So it is not a true SS, but everything on here is what an SS would have. And in California, or in 71, they dropped the horsepower on these cars big time in 71. Big mistake.
Right.
But they did
That's why the 70s are so sought after, because it was the last year.
With the LS6 motors.
Correct.
That's the one that brings all the money.
Yes.
But this has the original block in it, 350, which they came. It did not have air conditioning, so I did put air conditioning in the car. I also upgraded the gauges from the old style. They're still round. They're the Dakota digital gauges. It's got the vintage air, and just everything underneath, like I said, has been redone. New drive shaft, rear end, new transmission. I went from the 350 to a 700R for the overdrive. Because when I first got it, it had a 390 rear end with a 350 transmission, which I still have.
Okay.
But I had to get the 700R, which made it so much nicer to drive on the freeway. I mean, but right now it's kind of my baby. I take care of this thing like you would not believe. I mean, we have to cherish these cars because
you just
it's
can't
also
come by finding them.
Oh no.
So once you have one, you have to take care of it.
Exactly. And they just brought in so much money. My first Chevelle cost me $3,600 out of the dealership.
Brand new.
Brand new. This one here at the time was 10 times that. And then you keep adding to it and making changes.
Yeah.
It's like you're always going to find something to upgrade your car.
So back when you found this car, it was already restored with this paint job on it, but then just maintenance-wise, how long have you said that? When did you purchase it?
It'll be 4 years come this October.
Okay.
Like the middle of October of 24 will be 4 years that I've had the car.
So you got it in 2020 then?
In 2020.
Yeah, nice.
But the interior on the car, everything is like brand new. There are no flaws in the interior whatsoever.
Did it have these tires and wheels on it?
It did come with the Weld racing wheels, which are really cool.
Yeah.
And I guess the guy that had it before, he belonged to the Aces. I guess that means something back in the day. He belonged to this group.
Okay.
But he did like street race the car at that time. And I guess that's why I had some issues after I bought it.
Got it. So the guy that you bought it from had it for how long, do you know?
That I couldn't even tell you.
Right.
All I was told by the consignor is that I think they said it was in the family at least 12 to 15 years that they had the car. But like I said, it's all well taken care of.
Yeah.
So.
And what gauges? You said Dakota
Oh, it's got
Digitals.
the Dakota Digital.
Do you know which series that is?
It's the latest one. I'm trying to remember what they are. My mind is blank at the moment, but they're the latest for the Dakotas.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the vintage air.
Makes a huge difference compared to factory.
Yeah, and what's really funny is I had to get the air conditioning because, on the hot summer days. But now when you go cruising, you don't put the windows up.
Right.
So I hardly ever use the air conditioner.
Sure.
But it does work.
But it's there if you need it.
It does work very well.
And the heater's there if you need it, and it works really well.
Right. And this has got positive traction.
Does it have
on
a
the car? It's a 12 bolt.
Okay, so it's been upgraded.
Yeah, it's got all new shocks. It's got new springs underneath. Like all the suspension work was done on it.
So tell me, you got historical plates on it. What did you have to do to go through getting those?
Well, that was recommended to me, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
Because when I bought the car, getting it registered in California was very pricey.
Okay.
It cost almost $2,000 to get this car registered in California after I got it. And every year, the price to get it registered is still very high. It was $300 plus. So actually AAA recommended to me that this car qualifies for the historical vehicle registration.
Okay.
Which in turn dropped that registration price in half.
No kidding.
What I would normally pay.
Wow.
So as you know, California is high for everything.
Right.
So that kind of helps me out quite a bit.
That's good. That's good.
And my son absolutely loves this car. But he will not drive it with me in it. He's afraid to drive it with me in it.
Really?
Well, you know how fathers and their sons are when you...
Yeah. Yeah.
So he said he'll drive it all day long if I'm not in it.
So you're the type of guy that wanted to have something that was resembling factory, but you did like to upgrade like the AC and the gauges to a newer school technology.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I said, the car just brought back a lot of memories in a way that just before we got married, my girlfriend and I went all the way across the states in my '70 Chevelle. It was brand new.
Wow.
at that time, and it just brings back such a good feeling to me to have this one now and have this sitting in my garage.
Right. No, like
You
like
know,
you accomplished
it's a keepsake.
getting your original back, even though it's not the original, but you know, under the circumstances, you accomplished replacing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So-
Totally makes sense. And how is it when you go to get fuel to go at the gas station?
That's another story. It's like with all classic cars and people that just love cars.
Yeah.
They'll come up to you all the time and they'll say, I had a car just like that one.
Right.
Or my dad had one like that.
Yeah.
And that car is beautiful. And you know, you just get all these nice comments from people. And they just stare. A lot of people will just stare.
Yeah.
They'll look at it. But there's just something about the Chevelle lines that to me is the classic car. Whether you got the high-end version with a new 632 in it or something, it doesn't matter. It's the look of the car and what the car means to you, and this one means a lot to me.
Yeah.
So.
And you know what? I think that's a great point that you bring up, because everyone has a different reason why they have these cars and what they want to accomplish with it. And you know, I think it's cool because so when I went to high school, I graduated in '96. Okay. And in my high school days, those were the wheels to have.
The Welds,
Yes,
the racing wheels.
Yes. Yeah. I mean
They look really good on the car.
Yes, they do.
I mean, I see them every once in a while on the Chevelles, and it looks really good. Of course, my original had the rally wheels.
Right.
On that one, so.
Yeah. Because these weren't out back. I mean, there wasn't really too many options. I mean, again, these cars weren't. They were just family cars.
That's right.
I mean, they did have the SS
They
and
had
what
the
have
SS,
you,
right,
but
the
there
SS
wasn't,
wheel.
you know, the day two, they call them day two mods, wasn't really, it was like a shifter and an intake. That was pretty much it.
Yeah, you didn't have all the options that guys have today.
Yeah.
And what's really cool today is you could build a car from ground up. Dynacorn has the body.
Yeah.
You get the frame, you get the body, the motor. Of course, it'll cost you 150 grand to do that.
Right.
So that's why you're always better off finding one that's already been put together.
So being that you purchased this car, found it about 4 years ago and purchased it, what is something that you, like if someone's out there trying to find a Chevelle for themselves, what would be your recommendation to like just kind of set, like what's your recommendation or any type of hints and clues of what to look for or stuff that you come across?
Yeah, well, if I did it again, first off, I mean, this car is in great shape, even though it came from Minnesota, because they always put their cars away in the wintertime. They don't take them out until spring. But always look for a car close to where you live in California. Say California cars are always good, they're rust-free. This car does not have any known rust. It did have a CHP inspection, and he just said, well, it has the usual rust on the frame and so on underneath, but it's nothing that is serious, like a surface. It had a surface rust on it.
Right.
But always go and look at the car yourself.
Yep.
Go check it out.
And if you don't have the knowledge to look for, like go with someone that you do know that has the knowledge, so you can be there and pick apart the car with the person that's got the knowledge if you don't.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And when you said find a California car, you meaning a California car that has lived in California.
Exactly.
Not just a car in California, because obviously a lot of these cars come from all over the United States and come to California.
Just knowing more of the history of the car.
Yeah.
And now I have to go back and look, but I believe I am like the 4th owner of this Chevelle.
Yeah.
Because I believe the car was actually in Michigan, and then it ended up in Minnesota.
Okay.
But they did a great paint job on it. They took care of it, and that's looking at pictures is fine, but you really want to go and look at the car in person and check it out before you make a purchase.
Right.
Especially today, because these cars have just gone through the roof on the cost.
Yeah.
So, of course, everybody sees them on Barrett Jackson, the ones that you don't drive.
Yeah. And I mean, that's always a toss-up too, because there's a lot of there's some other reasons why those cars get so outrageous on pricing.
Right.
But I do agree. Like, you know, there is a dollar figure that comes with these cars, because people, I know I hear all the time, oh, that car's outrageous, it should be for this much money. But the reality is, you know, if you have the knowledge of what it was costing to build a car like this in the 90s, it ain't like the 90s no more. To find the parts costs money. The manufacturers have upped their prices of, you know, what, I mean, I went to go and buy seatbelts for my car, and seatbelts without even factory replacement seatbelts for all 6 or whatever for the whole car, without dated tags, I still paid $900 for them.
Oh my gosh, yeah. See,
and they're factory replacement seatbelts.
Yeah.
And he wanted to get dated ones. To get dated ones, it was going to be about $1,600. And so that's just seatbelts.
Yeah. And if you look for NOS parts, you're going to pay through the roof. I mean, you could pay $30 for one bolt.
And for people that don't know what NOS means, it's new overstock product that's left over from back in the day. And the reason why that brings so much money is because that is very, very replicated to factory specifications. They've not been turned over and redesigned like the newer stuff that you can purchase.
And to my knowledge, every panel on this car is original to the car. It's not been replaced. So, and that also means a lot. Like I say, though, it's most important because of what these cars are bringing. You don't want to get burned on buying one and have to do a whole total restoration on it.
So we're at Cruising PCH that started in 2000. Did you know about Cruising PCH before you bought this car or after you bought the car?
After. My son, in fact, like I say, this is going for, I think, was it the last one was a 4-year anniversary?
Correct. It was like March, I want to say, March was the beginning of the start of it.
Right.
In 2000.
In 2020, it was my birthday weekend. My son had a surprise for me. He said, we're going to go take a drive in the car. We ended up at the Costa Mesa
sports complex.
The sports complex.
Yeah.
So we ended up there. When I saw all the cars, I was blown away. I could not believe what I was looking at.
And you just purchased, replacing your high school, your not high school, but your original 70, and then you got to use it and partake in all this fun stuff.
And what's cool about the Cruise is it's an actual cruise. You're going on PCH. You're not just parking. You know, I love going along the beach with the cars because that's what it's all about. People are lined up taking pictures, and it's just a cool thing to do. So we look forward to this every month.
That's awesome.
You know.
Well, I appreciate your time, John, and thank you very much for showing us your 72 Chevelle. It's beautiful. I've seen it now since you started coming out, and I've never had the chance to talk to you. And today we chatted, and I got to learn everything. And the greatest thing about it is that this is something that replaced your baby, and I can value that. So that's awesome.
All I have now is pictures of my old 70, and I look at them all the time.
But you know, but at this point, you're sitting on something that is very hard to obtain for a lot of different reasons. And being that it's the same color and it gives you all the same feeling and vibes of what you had back in the day, obviously now you're making new memories. And that's great.
I'm very happy to have this car. You know, like I say, took a long time coming, but I feel very privileged to have this car and driving it today.
That's great. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you, John, and beautiful car. I love it.
Okay, Nick. Well, thank you for the interview. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right.